spawning here at the top right. We got our red Protoss playing for Onside Gaming. Give it up for Neeb.
Absolutely, and in the bottom left-hand corner, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited that he is here. Obviously, representing Team GP, it is your blue Protoss. His name is NightMare.
Alright, so, you know, I am curious, Planet on Fire. Why are you such a fan of NightMare? Because you ask around, a lot of people would not probably have NightMare on their list of favorite players, but somehow he's made it to your list.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. So I have this thing, and I've said this before, where sometimes I just pick a player, and I look at them and I say, listen, I think they're gonna be it. And I just feel like NightMare has been consistently improving recently. Obviously, for the longest time, he was kind of a B-tier Protoss. Didn't often make it into the GSL. When he did, and I don't think he actually really made it to GSL for the longest time. But recently, at least, has made it into that round of 24. Has not had the best results, but has still been putting up good games in qualifiers. And in those games that he's lost, but has also been putting up really good results in the World Team League. If you're looking at that, he has been taking wins off of some top Terrans. I think, especially from Europe, he's been beating a lot of their Terrans like Tekelizer. And even just recently in this event, I mean, who's not a fan of this story where NightMare comes all the way through that lower bracket, through the NightMare bracket, or through the NightMare bracket, through the knockout bracket, through the gauntlet from round 1. He got eliminated in Group Stage 1. Made it all the way through, beat Petit Drogo, you know, one of the best PvT players from Europe, beat Nice only plays PvP, he's from Vietnam, and they are extraordinaires at this. Uh-oh, Neeb, a bit of a mistake here, actually wasted a shot of his Stalker on that debris. The Zealot is going to go up into the main, though, and I think Neeb, is that a recall? Oh my, yeah. Has to recall 2 probes that ran away, but so far, just nice pressure here from NightMare. He just uses this Adept, uses the Zealot. I think he's probably going to lose the Adept and the Zealot, so both of them, but gets 3 probes for his trouble this early on in the game. That's a nice little trade-off, especially getting to scout that your opponent is going for Oracle. That's full information for NightMare.
Yeah, good scouting. We'll see that there's a Oracle on the way, and it looks like he's going to park his Stalkers into the mineral line, although one of the mineral line is open, so he might want to go ahead and throw down the shield battery there. And it's Warp Gate. Okay, Warp Gate is finished though. It looks like he should be able to defend for the meantime. But actually, 2 Stalkers at the front might actually attack at the same time with this Oracle.
Yeah, that's what's looking like. The immediate focus fire from Neeb is going to get 2 probes, but has to back on off. So far, not being able to really equalize that damage he took early on. But a second Oracle coming out, obviously, does just increase the danger of this. The issue is Blink will be done by the time that these Stalkers are across the map, or these Oracles are coming across. That Blink is going to be very close to finishing, so you have to be very, very careful with your Oracles. But as I was saying, you know, NightMare has had a monumental run through that lower bracket. He won 5 PvPs to get here. So one of the reasons why, I mean, I'm so definitely, I think that NightMare can absolutely win this. I mean, as I said, he beat Petit Drogo, he beat Nice, beat Gung Fu Panda. He beat Time 2-0, you know, he's beaten some top-level players. He's been having a standout performance so far in this tournament with this run, and I think it's something that kind of got overlooked during the all of the groups yesterday because there's so much else going on. It's almost a nice catch there by NightMare. The Oracles will survive. Neeb is going to keep those pocketed away as third bases are coming down for both players. But this guy, he's been showing some great games, and it makes me really excited. Obviously, though, Neeb is just such a monumentous opponent. You know, he is absolutely, I mean, I think one of the scariest opponents you can go against. But for NightMare, I feel like this is going to be, I mean, he definitely has a shot to advance forward. He's just going to push this forward. Blink is already done, and Neeb doesn't have his own. This is really actually bad for the American Protoss right now.
Yeah, especially with that shield battery getting canceled. And, does Neeb recall his Oracles to help defend? I mean, right now he's sitting at 7 Stalkers versus the 10 of NightMare. But it looks like NightMare feeling like maybe there's going to be some additional warp-ins, going to go ahead and just retreat for now, just to be safe.
Yeah, Neeb not being able to snipe off that last Stalker, but has already taken, I mean, again, just consistent losses throughout this early game. He's down only about 5 probes in a mirror match. It is a decent amount, but once you get onto these 3 bases, that's going to become less and less important. I think the real difference here for these players is this timing. Like, look at this. NightMare already has his Forge done. NightMare already has Charge on the way with additional gateways. Neeb has only just now started up his Forge and Charge. There's going to be a massive timing here where suddenly NightMare has all of these upgrades coming through. He has additional warpins, and he's going to be cutting his pro production. And yeah, this is just, again, this is just not a good position for Neeb to be in. Like, as a Protoss player, you know how, like, if you ever play this mirror matchup, you know how hard it is to fight down an upgrade, down warpins. It just feels like you never have enough units.
Yeah, I mean, both of them have the same kind of production mechanics. It just really comes down to the amount of gateways and, you know, army production buildings, and it seems like, yeah, it looks like NightMare is pretty much ahead on all fronts on that part. War Prism is out. Looks like NightMare is moving out. It's going to line up really nicely with these upgrades, the +1 especially. And he does see it.
Oh my god. He is playing so good. This player right now from Team GP is, here we go. Charge lots going on in. They have the +1. All the upgrades are in favor of NightMare. He has warpins coming through on the back as the shield battery just gonna get blinked on. As NightMare, he thinks he has the killing blow, and he might absolutely be right. The Zealots, they are still hacking away as the probes have been pulled. That stasis ward is also triggered on only 2 units as NightMare just dismantles Neeb in game number 1.
You were right. Looks like NightMare just on fire in this PvP matchup, and looking to make a name for himself as the king of PvP.
I mean, yeah, like, he has been just incredible in this matchup. As I said, like, just look at the list of players that he's beaten. You know, obviously, I think Neeb is also like another step up, so you can't just count Neeb out because NightMare's been playing well, but man, this guy, he lost in the first group stage, and he has come back with a vengeance. He wants to get to that round of 16. If he gets there, obviously, he'll be playing up against Scarlet, but like, this is the miracle run for him. You know, this is the big result that I think NightMare has been waiting for. But obviously, Neeb, that's also a story where you have to look at it and you have to say, well, for the longest time, you know, after his dominance in 2017, Neeb ended up just kind of starting to, you know, fall off. Didn't have as many big results, was still playing extremely well, didn't play as often, recently got picked up by Onside, and has had his return to form. And this has really been his, I think, this is going to be the first big international tournament since that has happened. So for him, also, this is a really big result. Like, for both these players, they really want to get deep into this tournament, but only one can.
Yeah, only one can, and will it be this guy here at the bottom right here as the red Protoss, like you mentioned, playing for Onside Gaming. Give it up for Neeb.
And in the top left, getting the winning game number 1. His timings were crisp. His aggression was, well, aggressive. The blue Protoss from Team GP, his name is NightMare. All right. It is, I gotta say, that game 1 was, I think, kind of shocking in a way. Like, even if you expected NightMare to play well, like, the fact that he just got so many small advantages over Neeb, who, you know, was, I think, came to be known for his consistency and, you know, and not making, like, those small mistakes. But NightMare just got these small advantages. He found probe kills. He, you know, there were misclicks from Neeb, and it eventually just all culminated in NightMare having this massive timing advantage because he actually forewent the Stargate, and Neeb invested into 2 oracles that really didn't get that much done, even with those shield batteries in the mineral lines. Like, it only got 2 probe kills with those shield batteries. That feels a little bit, you know, counterintuitive. Like, you hear that and you say, okay, what went wrong? You know, what went wrong for Neeb?
Yeah. I mean, like, not anything too big in terms of mistakes. But like you said, a bunch of little things here and there. You know, with the earlier harass, with the Zealot and the Adept, was able to get a few probe kills. Was able to pretty much defend against the Orcos without losing anything or anything significant, and just made a nice timing, and then was able to overwhelm Neeb, who was not able to scout that that attack was coming, so kind of caught off guard, and NightMare with a nice solid win there.
Yeah. Nice pylon here from NightMare. Is going to try and scout out the Stalker timing. Neeb, I don't think is going to give it to him. He's just going to keep those Stalkers at the top of the ramp, so that, and essentially what this does, it's just a mind game. NightMare doesn't know now if this is double adept, which is the only other opening that it could be. And if it's double adept, of course, you'd want to keep your Stalkers at home, or at least move them out to try and catch those units as they move out. As this is a bit unfortunate there, actually. Losing the probe immediately means that NightMare gets that first shot off on the Stalkers. Neeb just has to back up until he gets his reinforcements, which are popping out now. NightMare, yeah, shouldn't lose anything more, but second Nexus coming down. This is very interesting, though. That's a third gateway for NightMare and a robotics facility. There's no second Nexus here. This is just going to be a 3-gate. So very, very... this is going to be complete aggression right now. There's no plan for NightMare to expand, to macro up. He wants to kill Neeb.
Yeah, kind of interesting to see him throwing it down in the main.
Oh, this is really bad for Neeb. Yeah, he doesn't get the first shot off, and NightMare micros back the weak Stalker. You already lose one, and I mean, losing one Stalker, if this was Nexus, like expansion versus expansion, same build, would not be bad. But against a 3-gate, any unit you lose is really bad because, mind you, you're already going to be down in production. So that's just going to be a Stalker that you're never going to be able to make up. And look at this from NightMare. Oh, this is so good. Catches out the Stalkers now. I mean, even if he loses a few, trading out these Stalkers is so good as, I mean, he doesn't even have Blink. He's going to catch more on the Reinforce. Oh, no, Neeb. Losing all of these would just be disastrous. He gets one away. But yeah, this is not the start that he wants, and this is against the 3-gate. The Warp Prism is now coming across the map. We're going to see a miracle hold here from Neeb with these shield batteries.
Yeah, right now this is the only thing that he can depend on, at least until Blink is done. And,
does have enough energy for the shield battery overcharge.
Oh wow!
Nice catch on the Stalker though. Oh, NightMare trying to one-shot. The Sentry's not going to be able to. Has to just pull on away. So far, the micro very, very good from Neeb. Is banking up energy. Still about 16 seconds away from being able to get that shield battery overcharge. As NightMare's just walking on in. He has enough to one-shot now. As the Stalkers are starting to go down. Another Stalker falls. A third. As now NightMare, he just pulls the trigger. He's juggling back with the Warp Prism, and the micro is so good from NightMare. And that shield battery overcharge is still not available. And NightMare has kept almost every single Stalker alive. He started this with 12, and he still has 12.
My goodness, look at all those injured Stalkers, but they're still alive. And that is it. NightMare.
GG. Oh my. NightMare has a mission, man.
I know, right?
He says, listen, I am not going to drop a single series now. I felt what it's like to lose. Not happening again. That is insane, man.
Man, he is looking so damn good. It's like he knows what to do. It's like instinct for him.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens. He's been honing this PvP. He's played, I said, 5 up to this point against some of the best PvP players from other regions. Yeah. he looks great. He looks good. Man, NightMare, this is... I mean, even, as I said, even if you expect him to win, I don't think you expected this.
Yeah.
Like, Neeb is... Like, sure, Neeb isn't playing, like, spectacular anyway, but Neeb's not making massive mistakes. It's just that NightMare is reading him. NightMare is dictating the pace of the game, and he is just making all of the right calls.
Yeah, it's quite shocking considering, you know, Neeb, he is our reigning, defending NA regional champion. So, I mean, and also on top of that, you know, maybe you can give him a little bit of a break because he is attending college right now, and so he's not as invested or focused on StarCraft 2 as he used to be. But still, like, you still don't expect Neeb to be manhandled this hard by someone like NightMare. But apparently NightMare is just on fire, and he's making Neeb look like you know, a step level below him.
Yeah. And speaking of that, in the bottom right-hand corner of Cosmic Sapphire, ladies and gentlemen, He needs to pull something out of the bag. He's been trying to play standard and it has not been working. Maybe on a larger map. Suddenly this will be to his strengths. The red Protoss from on his side, gaming back against the wall already. It's Neeb.
And up here on the top left, he is one win away from advancing to the round of 16. It is NightMare.
And just for reference, since NightMare lost in group stage round, in the first group stage, he has only dropped a single game. And that was to Nice. And Nice is one of the best PvP players in the world. You know, he plays against the craziest. He plays against the craziest builds. He knows the ins and outs of timings and mechanics and cheeses. And yeah, NightMare beat him. Did drop a map, but NightMare managed to win that matchup. And so this has been really just a this has been an insane level of performance that we've seen out of NightMare, and this is why I've been hyping this guy up. People are like, maybe they think I'm crazy, but now I feel like everyone can see there was so much potential with NightMare in the games that he did show sometimes, and I feel like this tournament has been him completely realizing it. There's so much momentum. And for Neeb, it suddenly feels like Neeb's the underdog here, you know? We came into this and I feel like everyone, you know, the predictions say Neeb should win. Everyone probably had Neeb to win this. But these games have felt like Neeb is the player who is playing from behind. He's the underdog. He's the one who's not expected to win.
Yeah, I mean, when you consider like the accomplishments of Neeb along with the career earnings, Neeb on paper definitely should be able to beat NightMare, but you know what? Sometimes, you know, StarCraft 2 is a game of momentum. It's a game of, you know, it's not like, I mean, yes, you know, there are certain players where, of course, you kind of give them, you kind of expect them to win all the time, like maybe Maru, maybe Sero, maybe Raynor or Clem. But NightMare, he's not one of those. He's you would be a dark horse or an X factor you would consider coming into this tournament, and yeah, like I gotta say, it's pretty impressive. I did not believe the hype when you were telling me about NightMare earlier on, but now I do.
Believe me.
Now I believe.
Listen, I did the same thing with Buddy. Come on. I called it. Anyway, but yeah, no, it's just great to see when you see like the potential in a player, especially, and then suddenly they are able. It feels like they're able to realize that, and everything just starts to come together. It is really incredible to see, and I think what's even more insane is like these players have faced off before, actually. You know, NightMare and Neeb did play in the World Team League. Neeb 2-0'd him. You know, that was the history. Was Neeb has been more successful over time. He's won more events. He's had the higher highs. He's been the more consistent Protoss. And in the one time they faced, yeah, completely smacked him 2-0. But this has just been, I think, yeah, really the story of NightMare finding his form. And it's been a really kind of aggressive style of Protoss. But it's not something crazy like you'd see from a Haas.
Yeah, we're not expecting cannon rushes coming out of him, but he's pulling out some nice builds. Some really nice timings. Nice micro as well to kind of give himself a little bit of the edge and able to kind of close it out in the end. And also, you know, there was a little bit of luck there in the last game where he did catch some of Neeb's army, but also he did prepare really well. He was able to rally some of the stalkers, kind of sandwich him and trap him, so Neeb wasn't able to retreat his stalkers and was able to just pick off stalkers one by one.
Seeing the trade here. Looks like so far NightMare actually winning it. He's gotten 2 stalkers for 1 with the blink forward. He's gonna also get the sentry here with the blink back. Oh my! Neeb, yeah, has been showing some uncharacteristically sloppy micro so far in this series, but look at this. 2 adepts just finding their way into the natural are going to find a lot of probe kills. A very nice move here by Neeb, and that's exactly what he needs to start doing, is finding these little victories. As 6 probes go down, that's actually going to put NightMare down 10 probes. And this is already a much better look in this game. Neeb went for a very quick third base. He actually cut a gateway. He didn't go for 3 gateways. He just stayed on 2. So that means that he's had this very fast third base. He has Immortal production already started with a Forge. And suddenly, yeah, this is looking a lot more like what we would expect from Neeb.
Yeah, definitely a much better start compared to the previous games. However, he's not out of the woods yet. I mean, NightMare has made a War Prism, has a good chunk of Stalkers, 16 to 10, or I guess 16 to 11 now. And with the War Prism micro potential, Neeb's got to be careful. Although he does have a Mortal.
No, NightMare. Is he actually going to be able to get through? Oh, that was with Hardened Shield up. NightMare just blinks in, snipes away the Immortal. Suddenly the probes have to be pulled. What is this killer instinct? How does he know that he can go for that? No other Protoss player says, yeah, there's a shield battery there. There's an Immortal. I could blink in on that.
Yeah, that was a little ballsy by him. However, the question is, did he do enough damage? He was able to take out the Immortal, but Neeb, he's still ahead by double digits workers. He still has a healthy, army supply there. Looks like NightMare trying to set up a kind of a 2-prong attack, kind of distract him on the right side, but then sneak in with some double adept on the left side.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a way that NightMare can start to get back into this game. He's been evening out the worker count. I mean, that move just thinning away the army, especially getting an Immortal, is very, very big as Adepts find their way on in. Shift click should be able to find at least maybe 3 probes here. Same time, though, Adepts found their way in for Neeb. Also gets 3 probes in return. That Warp Prism is going to pocket step away. Ooh, NightMare tried to walk on in, but the shield battery was ready. The Immortal was there. I think the one, I don't even know if that's, yeah, there's not really an advantage here for NightMare right now. The gateway count is just about even. His charge is actually later than Neeb's. And so despite that aggression and despite the fact that, yeah, it slowed down Neeb's, the growing power of Neeb's army, it doesn't feel like it has stopped Neeb from now getting himself into an advantage. As here we go. I mean, more Stalkers here for Neeb to blink forward. There's no shield battery ready for NightMare, as his Zealots aren't ready. They're going to come from the flank, though. If the Zealots get on top of the Immortal, actually might be really big for NightMare. This angle is just insane. Neeb has to back on up, but the Immortal is going to fall. As NightMare chasing this forward is actually blinking on top of Neeb. He thinks he has it somehow. From down in supply, NightMare is going to just barely eke out this fight.
How? How, Titan on fire?
Zaze, I don't know.
A bunch of his charge line wasn't even in the fight for like the initial one.
He was down an upgrade.
Oh, what?
NightMare was down +1, but the angle is just insane. He gets the Zealots on top of the Immortal, comes from 3 angles essentially in that small choke point. And man, NightMare somehow turns that around. I mean, he's still behind though. His Forge, like, he does not have a Forge. He's not making upgrades. Neeb is gonna have 2-2 eventually. So even though it's incredible that NightMare won that, it still feels like Neeb is continuing to grow though. Neeb has a 4th base that's already finished. Neeb has this upgrade coming through. There's still a lot of things that are very, very scary for NightMare, and even if you win that one fight, I don't know if it's going to be enough.
Yeah, NightMare's really got to count on these Archons and the splash damage. I think if he has enough Archons with the splash damage, he can maybe mitigate, the upgrade deficit that he's currently in. Right now, actually, looks like Neeb is starting to warp in some Archons himself, so it is going to be quite tough.
Oh, NightMare trying to start the fight up, trying to pull back the Zealots, blink forward on top of the Stalkers. Gets a bit of chip damage, but hasn't been able to find anything, I mean, big. It's 3 Archons, and that, of course, can swing this fight. Even down an upgrade, the splash damage with the Archons, as you said, is absolutely massive as these shield batteries are getting focused down the Archons. They're just fighting the Zealots straight up, and this is possibly the best fight that NightMare could take, but still, there's so much behind this. There is so many Stalkers, there's Immortals here for Neeb. It's just too much. His economy was too massive, and despite NightMare's miracle hold there, Neeb has continued to grow. Neeb has continued to get stronger and stronger. Now he has +2. Now he's going to look to try and end this game and start to make his way back into this series.
Yeah.
GG.
Neeb, he puts a point on the scoreboard for himself. Not going to get swept here.
Yeah. No, very, very well done. And that was I think what we expected more so from Neeb when we were coming into this series, was that extremely solid macro that just really, really like upgrade timings, everything coming through in sync with each other. And so even though that that first attack didn't work, just because I mean NightMare's micro is out of this world, apparently just suddenly has some of the best Protoss micro I've ever seen. Yeah, Neeb was just able to overpower him with all the advantages that he got back at home while that was happening. You know, the slight worker leads, pushing that upgrade advantage. And I think NightMare did try and find, like, made a valiant effort to try and find the opening, which was, hey, before 2/2 hits, or before +2 hits, I get some Archons, and maybe I can fight you, even though you have more stuff. But, yeah, it just didn't work out. There was too much for Neeb, and yeah, I mean, it does feel like a situation where there was a lot of options, but definitely NightMare, I think, trying to just make it work with what he knew, the slight advantage he had, which was in that Archon timing. Was not good enough, though. And ladies and gentlemen, the bottom left-hand corner of Waterfall, he's got a win back on the board from onside gaming. His macro looked pretty indomitable. His name's Neeb.
And spawn here at the top right, we got our blue Protoss playing for Team GP, and still one game away from clinching this series. Can he do it? It is NightMare. Alright, so a PvP on Waterfall. Now this map, of course, one of the shorter maps in the ladder map pool. So maybe I would say there is some increased chances for some aggression. Maybe, you know, some stalker move outs, maybe opening up with 4 stalkers. But I guess we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, this is a small map. This is where we can see that aggression again come through from NightMare. That's kind of been what he's that's kind of been what he's been doing this entire game, has been the aggression. Obviously in that last game, I think he kind of put himself behind because he did go for that 3-gate without really any aggression to follow it. And that really is the issue that you run into if you are trying to play that kind of more army-based style, but you're playing 3-gate into 2-gate, and you don't actually find any significant advantage with it. You're just going to be behind in the macro game. You're going to be behind in your Nexus timing, in workers, in your additional tech. We saw that in the upgrades. And so, yeah, it's a fine line that you have to kind of toe, and I think NightMare in that last game definitely just a little bit too keen on trying to get up that 3rd gateway in a game state where it wasn't really called for.
Alright, in the meantime, looks like we have Stargate being thrown down by NightMare.
First Stargate he's played this series. Usually it's just been the gateways into, you know, Twilight Council, and then taking that and just going into your standard Blink Stalker. But yeah, so the first time we're actually going to see a Stargate here from NightMare. It'll be interesting to see what he does with it. Neeb has usually been the one to go for the Stargate. NightMare will confirm that it once again is going to be that opening from Neeb. The interesting part is Neeb has been doing it off of a warp gate first. So usually what you'll see from a Stargate opening is you actually get your Stargate before warp gate, just because you need that little extra gas. You want to get that faster Stargate. You're not going to be focusing on ground units as much, and so getting those warp-ins earlier is not as important. And so just because of that, we're actually going to see NightMare. He's going to have about a 1 Phoenix advantage, give or take a few seconds. And that can be very, very impactful when you have both players here handshaking and just going straight into the Phoenix Wars.
Yeah, we know how crazy Phoenix Wars can be. They kind of snowball really quickly. I think Neeb though should be okay. I mean, there is going to be a kind of a couple of seconds for him to having to fly across the map. So even though Neeb is a little bit behind in terms of the Phoenix production, that's okay. But what's not okay is losing a Phoenix off the bat, and that is going to be even more difficult for Neeb to come back in terms of the Phoenix count.
Yeah, that does. That's not a good feeling at all. As these Phoenix are just going to now dive into the mineral line because they absolutely can. The ground army, though, is not strong enough for NightMare, so he has to back on up. But still, you find 4 probes for it, and Neeb can no longer... He can't play the Phoenix game. He loses that first Phoenix. He was already behind 1. Now he's behind 4. There's no way for him to actually play it. Instead, he has gotten an Oracle, and he's going to transition to Blink. But it is kind of a second choice transition, which is obviously not the best. But look at this. This Oracle actually going to get a lot of value. That shield battery was not done yet. And I think, yeah, Neeb should just focus down as many of these probes as possible. And he's going to get quite a few, 9, 10 probes falling. And Neeb suddenly is 10 workers ahead. And hey, even if you're down the Phoenix count, 10 worker difference is a pretty good way to start off this game 5 minutes in.
Yeah, I agree. That definitely at least kind of put him in a playable position. I mean, he's got the early blink that should help him deal with these Phoenixes a bit more easier. However, there is a sneaky Dark Shrine follow up by NightMare, and there is no detection to speak of. The only detection just got killed in that Oracle. There's no Robo, there's no forges for a cannon. I mean, if Neeb doesn't have any detection in the next couple of minutes, then I think it might just be GG.
Yeah, I mean, I like this. He's still harassing with the Phoenix, and that's a threat that I think Neeb's had to keep in the back of his head. The Twilight, or the robotics facility is on the way, but it's available for a little while here. So Phoenix looks like, yeah, out of energy for those gravitational lifts. Are just going to have to kind of scout around, but the DTs, that could be very dangerous. I think the one issue is here for NightMare, he doesn't actually have anything at home. And I think he's kind of hoping that Neeb just doesn't walk up this ramp, because if he does, Neeb will see the Dark Shrine, and that's what Neeb's going to do. And there is confirmation for Neeb that there is, in fact, going to be Dark Templar. Immediate warp in the wall. I believe, yeah, we're going to see another pylon go down. This should be an immediate Oracle. And there's also, yeah, Observer and Oracle on the way for Neeb. This is bad for NightMare. You know, this was suddenly him trying to swing the momentum of this game when potentially he could have kept going with something like the Phoenix play or a faster transition, but now suddenly has to recall that Archon is going into Blink, but it's going to be, I mean, this is both players here kind of scrapping their builds and just saying, yeah, no, we're going to suddenly go into Blink Stalkers. NightMare is saying, this is 6 gate. I'm going to get aggressive. I'm still going to try and use these DTs, but yeah, 6 gate Stalkers. I'm going to put on the pressure.
Yeah, I don't blame him, because, I mean, he doesn't really have kind of leeway to kind of try to play the macro game. He knows he's invested a lot into these Phoenixes, so he's gotta punish him with it. And nice start here.
Yeah, the Phoenix lifts, getting so many Stalkers here off the bat is just so big for NightMare. Where is this Archon? Oh, the Archon's stuck in the main base. No! NightMare doesn't have a wall big enough, a wall gap large enough for that Archon. That would be so helpful for this fight. But for now, that Archon is just going to be stuck in the main base. We'll see if NightMare eventually realizes that and tries to get it out. But here we go, taking the fight. The Phoenix, do they have enough energy for a lift? They do, but the blinkbacks are good. NightMare, I think, should just try and commit to this third base. I mean, has a Dark Templar there. Neeb's just going to recall. The third base has been absolutely just sacked. And NightMare, with the impromptu 6 gate, just throwing it down and saying, listen, this is the transition I need to make. This is the build I need to pull out if I want to have a chance to get back in this game. The macro is not going to work out. And it seems like it's done just that. Neeb, he wasn't expecting this. I don't think he was ready for NightMare to suddenly get so aggressive on so many Stalkers when it was, you know, Phoenix into Dark Templars. These Blink micro is so good from both players. Neither of them really losing a lot of Stalkers. So far, it's still 18 to 16 in favor of NightMare. He did pop that shield battery overcharge, and so now it starts to get a bit more dangerous as there's gravitational lifts on a bunch of the Stalkers, as these Phoenix have just been so useful for NightMare, and suddenly he's at a supply lead. Suddenly NightMare, he's the one walking forward into the choke. Need more warp-ins. Shield battery coming up. He's trying to hold on for dear life, but his third base is gone. And behind it, NightMare has his own third base. Neeb just, I mean, was completely blindsided by this, was not ready at all. And NightMare, from being down 10 workers, turns it around, is so decisive with his build order. And Neeb is suddenly on the back foot.
Yeah, he's got his cybernetic core sniped as well, so that does kind of limit the amount of units that Neeb can warp in. He's going to have to warp in Charge Lot, or actually not even Charge Lot. They don't even have to upgrade Zealot and making Immortals to try to survive, but surviving is not good enough because NightMare, he's already, like you mentioned, has that dirt base. And so Neeb, he's gonna have to pull some rabbit out of the hat in order to kind of even things up.
I mean, I think for Neeb, this is probably just gonna end up being, hey, listen, I defend, I try and hold on, I get at my static defense, and I just hold on until I can macro back into this game. And to be fair, his worker count is actually not that bad. He recalled a lot of the probes from his other base, from his third, has now got those back on mining. The issue is really going to come in the army. Like, look at the army that NightMare is amassing. So many charge lots. Now, if Neeb can get out a significant amount of Archons before these charge lots actually hit, then maybe he can start to find a good fight. Because we see those Archons, they can absorb so much damage, they get so much splash. He's really going to need them to come in clutch, so we'll have to see Neeb. NightMare's moving out. He needs those Archons. Is he going to have enough to warp them in? He has the gas. Does he have the warping cycles? I think he does. High Templar being warped in now. 2 Archons. It's a start. But here we go. This is it. NightMare once again is going to go for the kill. Neeb, are you able to hold on? He does not have a shield battery here at the third base. Lifts come up onto the Stalkers. The Immortals firing away for free. Finally, they're going to get lifted up as the Archons there in the back. They're actually not being able to fire away on the Zealots. I think NightMare just has too much. And NightMare, man, just comes through. He's absolutely demolishing Neeb in 4 games. He is going to get the upset. NightMare is into the round of 16.